Well, hello, listeners. You have tuned in to the Ranch Horse Resource Podcast, where we talk about all things ranch horses, from training and horsemanship to stories, traditions, and the techniques that keep horsemanship and ranching alive. I'm your host, Ronda Van Norman, and today I sort of drug Ty away from his ranch chores so that he could visit with us a little bit about leads in the ranch horse. So Ty, thanks for joining us, and let's jump right on into it.
I don't see how you can ride a horse and not figure out your leads somewhere along the line if the horse is going to stay balanced. Leads are pretty important. Just for everything, whether it's roping or showing one or just not looking stupid trying to warm your horse up in the arena, just knowing how to start him out in the correct lead, knowing what it takes to get him in the lead. I don't know that you could go your whole life and never actually have to change leads, but knowing what lead you're in and how to put them in the correct lead to start with is pretty beneficial, I would say.
So let's be specific. We're talking about the horse that never leaves the ranch. He doesn't go to horse shows. He doesn't do team roping. He's just solely a ranch horse. He gathers, sorts, ships, opens, shuts gates.
Brands calves, pulls calves to the fire. Examples of being in a decent lead is roping one outside, doctoring one. What if he's switching directions? You can tell when your horse isn't in the correct lead for the direction you're going, because all of a sudden things get really rough and out of whack. And then that creates a deal where their feet aren't hitting the ground correctly. So if it's slick, they can go down or stumble or fall or however you want to say it. And if you're in steep country too, and you're hauling around a side hill, it's pretty important, I would say. Maybe some people don't notice it, but to hold that line around a side hill without falling off the mountain. Usually if you're in the wrong lead, that horse is going to fall off the mountain. If you're trying to hold and maintain a certain line, he's going to have to be in the correct lead so he can hold that line around the side hill.
I would probably say that 80% of the horses naturally pick up leads without the rider having to ask or position them to do so.
Yeah, I think any cowbred horse is going to do that. Maybe reiners too. I haven't been around a lot of reiners, but you get some drafty horses or bigger horses, and maybe it's not draft. There's some bloodlines out there that have a hard time. They'll be crossfiring, just go along, they're clunking along, and they're plumb happy with doing that. But I mean, we watch our baby colts switch leads all the time when they're running around their moms and tearing around on the meadow and stuff. But I have seen some, I don't know what you want to call it, maybe mixed bloodlines a little bit, where you maybe a little more colder bloodlines where they're a little slower on the lead changes, or they don't mind, kind of clunking around there in the wrong lead behind and a different one in the front. Once you start riding them, that's something you can show them how to put their feet where they need to.
So Ty, I know your program is aimed towards spending some time in the arena on all your horses, even if they're just destined to be a ranch horse. You will spend some time on that horse getting them to lope a left circle, lope a right circle, stop, back up, turn around. And I think that's probably what most people do is put some time on their horses with that type of foundation. But let's speak to the programs that just use their horses on the ranch. What can they do in their training process, bringing their horse up along the way to help introduce leads out through the sagebrush, on the mountain, on the trail, that type of thing?
Before we start that, I would have to say that as a rider or as a person that owns horses, rides horses, whatever you want to say, ranches on them, uses them in the arena and out of the arena, my goal is to have the best balanced horse I can have. That's going to make that horse the most useful to me. It's awful hard to have a balanced horse if you don't know one lead from the other, or you don't know how to show your horse how to find the correct lead. So that being said, ranching on them, I just gave some examples, doctoring on them, having to side hill around a mountain if things get to going fast. I mean, it's nice to know that that horse is going to be able to find that lead and hold himself on the mountain because he's in the correct lead. I've heard people say, well, horse doesn't need to do a 360 degree turnaround or whatever. These ranch horses, all they need to do is do 180. I guess it depends on your mindset. But if you're trying to make a balanced horse and you're working cows on them and you're roping on them and maybe you want to take them to town for a fun day, or maybe you have them where you put them in a horse sale eventually or something like that. Well, that's one of the keys to having that horse balanced is that lead. If he doesn't know where his feet are and you can't put them correctly, then you don't have control of his body. It's not that you can't go get your job done, but it's either going to be really uncomfortable for you in a sense and possibly even dangerous because of where and how his feet are hitting the ground. I guess if I wanted to work on leads, like while I'm cowboying or something like that, I wouldn't be loping in circles necessarily unless I had some time. But one example, I guess, would be like trotting down a road or something like that. You can get the body control at a trot that you're going to need for the lope by getting some collection and getting him to push off one leg. Like it's called 2-track, but so you'd be trotting forward, but pushing off to the side too. So it's not really a side pass. Say I'm pushing with my right leg. That means that the 2 left legs have to be reaching forward and across, and then the 2 right legs. So one is trailing over the other, right? So if I can get that, then that's setting my horse's body up because he'll be stood up straight, setting him up to reach up underneath himself to pick up that lead if I decided to lope off. So I'll go down, say you're trotting down a road. I'll go, as long as I don't have to cut somebody off, but like I'll stay in the right lane and then push him as I'm trotting. I'll get him collected and push him over into the far side of the left track. Then I'll go straight for a while and I'll get him collected and I'll push him to the far side of the right track and I'll zigzag across the road that way. Just getting body control on him. We don't have to lope, but get that trot and get him to where he collects, where he's reaching up underneath himself in that trot and shortening his back still. His nose comes down and he allows my leg to push him across that road without any hang-ups. If I feel hang-ups there, I'll work on those spots as I do that to where he's just smooth with that. And that's going to be the same thing if you were loping circles and you were wanting to do a figure 8. When you come around into your circle, I need to have him stood up and straight to the middle so that I can push him over with that leg and pick up the next circle, opposite circle. You can do it on a cow trail too. I'll just get some collection on a cow trail and get him to bend to whichever, get him to come off of that leg. So he might just, it's not like you're on a road and you can 2-track all the way across the road. Well, I'll either get him to shape to my leg, that leg that I'm pressing with, or I'll get him to stay straight and move his whole body over to the, it only has to be a few inches to see if he's going to respond to that. Like I can be on the right-hand side of a cow trail and see if he's going to let his body shift over to the left-hand side of that cow trail and keep it all straight. Colts at first, they don't understand that, so you just work on pieces of it. You might start that and the collection goes haywire. So then you work on collection. Then you go back to that to where they're getting to where they can move off your leg. And I wouldn't dwell on it too long, especially if you're cowboying. You don't want to wear your horse out doing it. But if you're trotting somewhere anyways, that part's not that big a deal. And if it starts to turn into a big deal, do smaller doses of it.
I like how you can do little things when you're just out on the job that can translate to meaningful high-end performance horse moves. Ty, talk to us a little bit about maybe a horse that is struggling to pick up one lead or the other. He's just, how people, I think, sometimes can be right-handed predominantly, and it's hard to do things with your left hand. How would you get a horse that's predominantly one-leaded to think about, using their other lead?
No, even when you're halter breaking colts, you find some that are more dominant. Every one of them is going to be more dominant on one side or the other. So, like a lot of times, I'll work that side 2-to-1 until they start to balance out. Sometimes you got to go back to the good side a couple times. If you go back to the good side, then it'll help them place their body for the side that they're struggling with. But as far as leads go, I don't know. I heard my dad tell somebody one time that was having a hard time getting their horse to, I don't know if it was pick up the lead or hold the lead, but it was a cowboy. It wasn't really somebody that was showing, but it was a cowboy that had kind of gotten interested in doing more horsemanship stuff. And Dad just pretty sure he was on the phone or talking to somebody. I don't remember exactly. I was probably it was before high school when I remember him telling me, well, you got any hills around there? He said, put him on a hill, whichever way you're wanting to go, whichever lead you're having trouble with, and just make him lope around that hill. Which I remembered that for some reason. That thing stuck in my head. And all growing up, and to this day, I still think about that when I'm chasing something or I'm have the chance to lope around the hill. It makes a lot of sense because the rest of the conversation my dad had with that guy was the fact that if the horse is in the wrong lead, he's going to fall off the hill, and he can't maintain a line around that hill. He can't stay even around that hill. So without being in the correct lead. Now, I've been in some really steep stuff that you probably wouldn't want to lope anyways. You're falling off it anyways. But if you have a nice sloped hill, like a little peaky hill or something where you could lope around it to another saddle or turn around and lope, I have done that. I've had colts start out in the wrong lead and have to stop them and kind of get them lined back out. And between the slope of the hill and me putting them on a line and trying to and make them hold that line, they figure out pretty soon that they do need to be in the correct lead to go around there the way balanced.
It ends up feeling good to them to be in the correct lead.
Yeah. It's a lot less work. It's a lot easier for them to stay on the line they need to be because they go off it and now they're down the hill 10 feet. They got to climb back up the hill 10 feet.
So talk to us just about your everyday work. It doesn't matter what age of horse you're on. You're out doing a job on the ranch. I don't know. Let's pick a scenario. You've moved some cattle, maybe some yearlings, and now you've decided you're going to doctor one. So you've got your rope down and you build to this animal. You're trotting it first and then you kick up into a lope. Are you asking your horse for a certain lead in that situation?
Not necessarily. I don't really pay attention to trying to put them in a lead, but I'm aware of what lead they're in. Does that make sense? It's no different than being in the arena. And I prefer to be in even showing, like when you go down the fence and the fence work, I prefer to be in the correct lead for the direction I'm going, even with the cow there. I think it balances that horse out a little bit more. It keeps him off the cow. So if the cow's on my left going down the fence, I want that horse in the right lead. Because if we go around the corner, he needs to be in that lead. And that way he's going to stay in his lane better. So if I put him in the left lead and go around that corner, now he's having a hard time with his hind end getting around that because now he's really cantering around the corner. So if you're thinking about, just think about that in the arena. Like if you wanted to track a cow, not track, but rate a cow all the way around the arena, left or right, you would want that horse in the correct lead for the circle you're going in, right?
Correct.
Or I would, because that way it's easier to stay in your lane. Now, if I put that horse in the lead that's the cow side lead, now that horse it's automatically carrying him to the cow. But the other thing it's doing is it's automatically making him come around those corners in the wrong, more like a counter canter. And that is super hard for them to maintain their hind end that way at a rate of speed. So take that outside, and now you're on uneven ground, slick ground. I don't mind if my horse is changing leads. I want him whatever he's comfortable on. What might happen is when I throw my rope. Like, so I may not rope the calf if we're in a weird lead or we're not quite stable in that lead when we're getting to that calf. I may not throw my rope there because a lot of times it's really hard unless they're really close to get a lot of reach on your rope if your horse is in the right lead for some reason. I'm right-handed, so I think that has something to do with it. You're trying to keep your right shoulder back, but this right lead is pushing your right shoulder forward, right? Because when he's in the right lead, your hips are going to rotate to your right leg's going to be ahead of your left leg, and now that means my right shoulder is going to be leading. So if the calf's going and we're going around there, and he's in the same lead as the cow's traveling in, now I've got to change how I adjust my swing and my throw, and it actually weakens that. So I would rather wait for things to straighten back out and where he can pick up that left lead. And then now because he's in the left lead, my left hip and my left leg are going to be forward because it's traveling in his lead. My body is on top of that horse, which automatically puts my right shoulder back just a touch. And now I have a lot of coverage over that calf and I have more power on my rope when I throw.
Okay, so let's go over this a little bit again. You're saying in the example that you're outside, going to rope something, you're not caring on the departure what lope you get into. You don't ask him for a particular lead. You just get him sped up to meet the calf. Now let's say the animal goes to the right and you don't care if your horse is in the right lead for a while, but you're probably not going to rope it there if you can help it. You're going to wait until the calf straightens out, and then you're going to try to switch your horse to the left lead.
Yeah, I mean, ideally, yes, for me. But like I said, that could happen so fast that it's not. Like there's times where you know your horse is in the right lead with the calf right there, and I don't have to like throw real hard or reach out and rope it. I can still get the shot off, but I'm probably not going to dally too, because that's the other thing. A lot of times, especially in a turn, roping cattle outside, you're going to have to wait for things to straighten up, because as soon as you throw, I don't know why, but as soon as you throw, it's like your horse goes into neutral and he drifts off, especially on colts. They won't stay hooked to that cow as well. They won't keep driving behind, especially if they're in the wrong lead. That seems to be common.
Let's go back to the arena example for a minute. That you were saying that even in the arena, you don't care maybe what lead they're in.
No, in the arena, I do care. I was talking like in the arena, like in, say you're just going to rate a cow like fence work, like the cow horse fence work, where I'm just going to rate a cow all the way around the arena. I want that horse in the correct lead for the circle we're going in. So if I was to lope that circle, say I'm going around the arena to the right, I want that horse in my right lead.
So let's switch a little bit and talk about the horse that you're riding outside that's just, you asked him to pick up a lope and he's in all sorts of leads, cross-firing, and Will you stop that horse and correct it?
Maybe. It depends on how broke he is, whether he can take me, I'll collect him a little bit, not so much that I stop his feet, but enough that he's not just free running, because he's probably going to goose himself or get tight, but I'll slide whatever foot I need to back by his flank. And I say flank because most people don't get their foot back far enough, but you got to get it back past your back cinch, and I'll just bump him with the side of my foot. I don't very seldom use my spur, but I'll reach back there and just bump him with the side of my foot, like where your spur strap hooks onto your spur. And it'll make him kind of grab himself and pick up his hind end. He needs to, what's happening is his hind end drug out from behind, and like his, especially if he's crossfiring. That means crossfiring means his front end's in the lead you want him in, and the hind end is not. And in order to do a correct lead departure or change, the hind end has to lead. But apparently in a crossfire, the front end's stuck in one lead and the hind end's stuck in the other lead. Or I might just make whichever lead I wanted to get him into, I might just pull him into a circle, like a tight circle, and make him trot in that and then lope out of it. So if he's crossfiring and he's out a lead behind, but he's in lead, say the left lead in the front and the right lead in behind, I'm going to bring him around to the left lead because that's what his front feet are on. And that's what the lead I wanted, but his hind end wasn't picking that signal up. I'm going to trot him in a tight circle like I was going around a barrel, and I'm going to shoot him out of there back down the trail or wherever I'm going and see if his hind end will track correct with his front end. But it is going to be, I may lope him. You could do a tighter lope circle and maybe he's going to pick it up, but sometimes they don't pick it up and it turns into a bigger thing than you need. Just be better to get him, bring him into a trot, get him collected, and then push him out of it. But I do mix it up, so I don't know. There's times where if I have a horse that's not wanting to hold a lead, I'll lope some tight, quick circles in that lead and see if he's going to fall out or make him pick it up by doing the same thing. I'll bring my foot back there and bump him and see if he can get it correct. And then once he does, we'll just make that circle a little bigger and a little bigger and a little bigger to take the pressure off of holding that in there.
And you could be doing this out on the meadow or...
Yeah, you could be doing it. I mean, I guess if we're talking about doing work outside or ranch or cowboying, I mean, it's like anything else. Don't wear your horse out. If you're going to have a long day, I wouldn't be doing any of that. I'd be doing some side passing at a walk or some 2-tracking at a walk and get some more shape on their body, not loping circles out there. If you're going to be another 4 or 5 hours on that horse, I would.
It might be something you could do on your way back home, or maybe when you're back home, if you've got enough horse or something.
Right. You've got to pick those deals and leads. There's 2 things that'll brain fire a horse, in my opinion, and that's trying to get a gate open, get up to a gate and get a gate open when they don't know how to put themselves there, and changing leads. They're almost the same maneuver. And they're almost all the same. It's the same body control. But if you dwell on it too long and get in a fight there, you will leave so much residue that it'll be there for years afterwards.
That sounds like maybe we should have a whole podcast on
residue.
How to not have residue. All right, one last question, Ty. Talk to me about another scenario. So maybe you're outside moving some cows and you decide to kick up into a lope and, maybe you're going to go get the gate before the cattle get there to open it or something. It's not a high pressure situation. You're just changing speeds from where you were at. And it's not necessarily like you're chasing anything. You're just picked a line from the point you're at to a point in the distance. Do you ask for a certain lead departure there?
It just depends on what I'm thinking about. I mean, I can. It's a good place to do it. If you're just going to go get a gate, if you're not going to trot and you want to lope up there. Yeah. I mean, being aware of it, whether you do it or not, being aware of it's important, in my opinion. But it also leads to the deal. If you're aware of it, then you might want to start working on certain things of it too, to be better at it. So yeah, I might get some collection, get some walk, maybe even a little bit of trot, but make sure that horse's body's striding so that, and off my leg where it's going to pick up the correct lead and then lope off and then lope to the gate. That way you make that departure not a big thing. You can also do that before when I was talking about 2-tracking down a dirt road where you're just switching from one side to the other. You can get to where you can do that at a lope even, where you do your departure straight. Say I pick up the left lead and then I'm going to push him over to the right side or to the left side. I'm in the right track on the road. I'm going to start in the left lead and I'll lope straight for a while and then I'll get my right leg on him and I'll push him over to the left lane of that road and I'll go straight and then I'll take my right leg off of him and put my left leg on him and see if he'll switch leads to travel across the road to the other lane. And pretty soon, you might have to break to a trot. You might have to, and see if you can shorten those strides. So maybe he's going to trot 2 strides before he picks up the next lead, the other lead. Maybe you can get it where he only does 1 stride. Pretty soon, you should he should start to get it if you haven't gotten too big a fight with him and have made your cues clear. There's a good chance you can get him to where she's going to change leads. Like you could lay a leg on him, change leads, and he'll hold that for as long as you want him to, and then change leads again, kind of like the dressage people do that. I don't know if I've ever been able to get one to change leads every stride like they do, but I have been able to get one to take 2 strides in the left lead, switch, take 2 strides to the right lead, switch, take 2 strides to the left lead, switch, take 2 or 3 strides. That's about as far as I worked on it. My horses do that, then it's way more than I need for what I do.
So in a rapid fire sort of review, what are some pros and is there any cons of being aware of your leads and practicing them out on the ranch?
I don't see any cons. Even if you don't care about showing a horse or really thinking about leads, I guarantee you every good horseman whether it's at a roping arena, whether it's at a branding contest, whether it's at a ranch horse show or whatever, they notice the guy that's loping around there in the wrong lead. You might not want to be that guy, so you might want to be aware of what lead you're in. I've seen some horses that just enjoy being in the wrong lead, but most horses I don't think do. And most people riding the horses don't like being in the wrong lead very long because it's not very smooth. It's not a very smooth gait. But I would think once those horses every horse I've ever been on, once they figure out which lead they need to be on, they're more relaxed in that lead because it's working with the direction that they're going. It's not working against. They're not trying to hold something. When they're in the wrong lead, they got to try to hold something that's not natural for that gait or stride or whatever you want to say, maneuver. No, I don't know. I guess I've just been aware of my leads for so long that it's kind of hard to think about. I mean, I go to the arena and decide whether I'm going to go to the right or the left. Most everybody, if you go to town, they all go to the left. Go in the arena, and they start going counterclockwise. To me, that's the left, but maybe I'm wrong. But they start going counterclockwise. Every arena you go to, they go counterclockwise. So if I can find a spot that's big enough for me to trot a circle or even lope a circle to the other way, to the right, clockwise, I'll go hog a corner or do something like that and make sure my horse gets both ways. I don't care if I'm roping on him or showing him or what. Most show horse warm-up arenas, they've got 2 circles going. One end's doing left circles, the other one's doing right circles. Then everybody starts doing rundowns, stuff like that. But arena, team roping and stuff, everybody goes to the left. They just go in there and go to the left. But then they sometimes wonder why their horse won't go to the right when the cattle are all running to the right fence. So I think that's, even if the horse is maintaining the left lead, they understand how to get off your leg and your rein to get over there. So that's one benefit to me, to being able to lope horses. He doesn't have to switch leads to get to that steer, but just me loping him to the right gets him off my left leg and my left rein, so that when I need to push that horse over there to the steer, he's coming off that rein.
Well, Ty, let's wrap this up. I know it seems like leads can be difficult, but I think you've given us some ways that we can just simply think about them with the approach of being aware of what lead our horse is in. And then as we progress, we can determine when is a good time that a horse should be in the left lead or when it should be in the right lead. And that was all really interesting information to me. I also enjoyed how you talked to us about moving your horse from the left side to the right side of a cow track or from one side to the other of a cow track. I really appreciate your approach in those little things that you do on the ranch every day that doesn't separate horsemanship from your ranch work. You're just out there on the job. You're using the resources you've got to make your horse a little more fine-tuned. And that sounds like something maybe a lot of us would like to try. Thank you to our listeners for hanging out with us for a little bit. Maybe this conversation even gave you some new ways to think about lead departures and when to use a lead, left lead or right lead. And for goodness sakes, maybe a different way to think about what to do when you're riding down the cow track. Well, anyways, if you'd like to learn more about horsemanship, whether you're starting a colt or fine-tuning an older horse, or just looking to become a better horseman, reach out to us and we can get some help headed your way. You can send us an email at hello@ranchhorseresource.com. You can also join our free Facebook group at Tack Room Talk and leave a comment or ask a question there. And so, well, that's it for now. We'll see you next time.